What is the purpose of a wheel? Seriously, think about it. A bike wheel moves a bike, a car wheel moves a car, a gear helps move machinery, a steering wheel controls direction. All wheels different. So depending on which wheel I point at, the answer is completely different. But what happens if we stop looking at individual wheels? What happens if we just zoom out? What is the one function that seems to remain? It spins. And I think this tells us all something extremely important about purpose. Purpose exists simply because structure produces characteristic actions and those actions produce results. Essentially what I'm saying is that something can be given purpose through what its structure consistently provides and allows it to do. Take the wheel again. Every individual wheel can be used for something different. One could be on a bike, one could be on some giant machine, one could even be sitting in someone's garage doing absolutely nothing. But the broader structure of the wheel still gives it characteristic function. Rotation. So although every wheel can have some specific individual purpose, there is a broader purpose given by its form. I call this structural purpose. Structural purpose is basically the overall characteristic function of a structure when we zoom out from its individual uses and look at the entire category. That's the distinction. We're not asking what was this particular object made for. We're asking what does this type of structure characteristically do. And once you understand that, we can start asking much bigger questions. Technology is another example. What is a broader purpose for technology? Phones communicate, cars transport, microwaves heat things, computers calculate and process information. Technologies can do thousands of completely unrelated things. But what do they all have in common? They're all supposed to work. Or if you want the unnecessarily fancy word I learned while making this video, efficacious, which basically means successfully producing the intended result. And the noun would be efficacy, so you could say technology has the structural purpose of efficacy. Technology exists in thousands of forms, but at the broadest level, technology is structured to produce some intended effect. And yes, I promise we're getting to life. Okay, let's take a breather because I did just rush through the first two sections. So now, let's zoom out again. What is the characteristic function of life? To act, maybe? To perceive? In some forms? To survive? Definitely important. To reproduce? Obviously important. To evolve? Across population? Yeah. But I think a lot of these can actually fit underneath one broader idea. Growth. I think growth is the structural purpose of life, and before somebody says, well, old people aren't getting taller, this is not what I mean by growth. I'm not talking about physical size, I'm talking about development, adaptation, transformation, learning, reproduction, evolution, the continuation and reorganization of living systems. A tree grows, a child grows, a species evolves, a person learns, an organization adapts. Even when growth isn't physical, life constantly changes itself through interaction with its environment. So if we use the same method we used for the wheel, growth becomes to look like a broader structural function of life. But then we reach humans, and humans make everything harder. Humans are nearly as similar to one another as we like to sometimes pretend. We live differently, we want differently, we believe different things, we build completely different lives, and yet we also constantly still try to fit in. Think about how much of human behavior is just, what is everyone else doing? What clothes are people wearing? What am I supposed to say here? Well, you can probably make a pretty good assumption using probable truth if you watch my last video that at least part of this behavior or these behaviors probably comes from humans historically needing groups to survive. If you were completely rejected by your tribe thousands of years ago, that wasn't just embarrassing, that could be dangerous. So fitting in clearly plays a role in human behavior, but it can't be our entire structural purpose because humans also constantly do the exact opposite. We rebel, we create, we isolate ourselves, we complete, we explore. We decide our entire lives to things nobody around us understands, so fitting in isn't enough for us. We have to zoom out again. look at completely different kinds of people. An athlete, a 9-to-5 worker, an entrepreneur, a writer, a painter, a musician, a scientist, a historical conqueror, a parent, a student. Their individual goals can be completely different. So instead of asking what they're specifically doing, let's ask what growth gives them. An athlete trains. What happens? They gain more physical capability. An artist practices, they gain more expressive capability. A student learns, they gain more intellectual capability. A worker earns money, they gain more economic capability. An entrepreneur builds something, they gain more ability to act through the systems they've created. Different people, different forms of growth, different goals. But something keeps happening. More capability. And what happens when you gain capability? You gain more possible actions. And what do we normally call having more possible actions available to us? Freedom. I don't mean freedom in the political sense. I'm not talking about the freedom to breathe, the freedom to think, or the freedom to even simply exist. Those should already belong to you. I'm talking about the freedoms we build. The freedom to draw something that only previously existed in your head. The freedom to spend money on something you worked for. The freedom to travel somewhere you've never been. The freedom to understand an idea you couldn't understand 5 years ago. The freedom to love somebody. The freedom to create something. The freedom to build a career. The freedom to completely change your life. And yes, the freedom to get a little crazy after working all week and regret it the next morning. But seriously, growth expands capability. Capability extends the range of actions available to you. And that expansion is freedom. Growth, capability, possible action, then freedom. So maybe human purpose isn't separate from the purpose of life. Maybe it's just the next layer of it. Life grows and human growth creates freedom. Now, there's an important problem here. Freedom isn't automatically good. A person's abilities can grow in a righteous direction or an evil one. A person can gain the freedom to help thousands of people. Another person can gain the freedom to manipulate thousands of people. Both required growth, both required capability, both expanded what their person was able to do. So I'm not saying growth automatically creates goodness. I'm saying growth expands agency, and morality determines what we do with that agency. That's why human beings can grow towards freedoms that are good, bad, righteous, evil, beautiful, or destructive, because structural purpose and moral purpose aren't necessarily the same thing. A function can exist before we decide whether its result is morally good or bad. So let's trail ourselves back to the beginning. A wheel has countless individual purposes, but structurally, it rotates. Technology has countless purposes, but structurally, it produces intended effects. Life exists in countless forms, but structurally, it grows. And humans grow in thousands of completely different directions, but what does growth repeatedly produce? Capability, possible action, agency, and freedom. So maybe purpose isn't some completely invisible thing that we have to spend our lives waiting to discover. Maybe part of purpose is already visible in what things consistently do. Maybe purpose exists in structure. And if that's true, life grows, humans grow, and through that growth, we continuously build new freedoms. Maybe that's the structural purpose of being a human.